Welcome to the Elements of Spirit readings for the week of September 17th, 2017, 9/17/17. These are free weekly readings through the elements of earth, air, water, fire, and ether, brought to you by Edible Spirit. C'est moi, Edible Spirit. The way this works is you watch this reading, which is the ether reading, which sort of defines the space for this week. In which all of the other elements are manifesting, and then you find your sun sign in the description below this video and find the element that corresponds to your sun sign, and then you go and watch that video. Each of the videos has an affirmation at the end of it, and when you combine the two videos, ether and your primary element, which is connected to the sun sign, and those two affirmations, you get your elements of spirit for the week. It gives you a lot of stuff that you can work with, either using the affirmations or just maybe watching the readings again. I keep telling people too, it's fun to set like a reminder to randomly send this affirmation to yourself, whichever one jibes with you or whichever ones jibe with you, to send those to yourself at like random points throughout the week. If you're into astrology and you know you have a lot of other elements in your chart, these are not specifically astrological readings, but if you have like 7 planets in earth signs, then, but you're not a Virgo or an earth sign, then, watching the earth reading might bring you some wonderful information about how that element is manifesting in your life. And in truth, all of these elements really will apply to everyone, because nobody has, no element exists in a vacuum. Even, for instance, if you had no fire in your birth chart, you could watch the fire reading for an understanding of how to work with the fire that is in the space around you, or that happens to be moving through you in that week. So elements of spirit, chop them up, mix them up, use them as you will. Let me know how you use them. I do these for you. Well, I see an image. So we'll just start by drawing out what that is. So there is a focusing energy this week. Focusing energy. The spiral grows tighter. It's not that the pace picks up, but it's that pace picks up, that the concentration of opportunities for choice and change increases. Truly, it's always infinite, but this week we will feel the concentration of opportunity to choose/change. Okay, we'll see. I think this is the affirmation. The pressure I feel can be relieved by consciously balanced action. So there's this vibe too. We're zeroing in on 9/22 to the equinox. The sun enters Libra, but we also have, when is it? That's Friday, 9/22. I think it's like late Wednesday 9/20, maybe, late Tuesday, early Wednesday. I should have looked this up before I went in here, but it's funny because it's reminding me. Late Tuesday, early Wednesday, we have the new moon. Let me just double check that for you. You guys, I know, can go look this up. I did write it down the other day. Yeah, it's the 19th. Dope. So, come on, bruh. Sorry, guys. New moon, LA. Yeah, September 19th, 10:30 p.m. So it's the 19th into the 20th. So it's actually, yeah, so it's Tuesday night into Wednesday the 20th. And it's funny because we got the new moon and the eclipse right before we went into Virgo. So we had like Leo, 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 Virgo. Now we're having like Virgo, 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 Libra. So there's this idea here that pressure to choose and change increases. To choose and change increases. The idea here is inertia and what's the word? Stolidity? I don't even know if that's a word. I know stolid is a word and solidity is a word, but we'll see stolidity. It's saying like fixity, I'm not going to change, isn't really going to work. You can hold your ground, but this is going to be very unique for every individual. You can hold your ground. You can root. You can be grounded. You can be Virgoan. But the idea is whatever pressure you start to feel is going to want to be relieved by conscious, balanced action. So the idea is like if something enters into your experience this week that you don't like, that you don't dig, that doesn't feel really good for you, it's not going to change by waiting it out. It's also not going to change by running away. It's also not going to change by attacking. It's going to change, whatever's making you uncomfortable, whatever's making you feel pressured is going to change through conscious, balanced action, choices that are responsible. I think this was the ether reading from last week. There was lots of stuff about how you make choices, whose skulls you step on, whose you don't, who helps, who doesn't. So this feels like a continuation of this. The pressure, I feel, can be relieved by consciously balanced action. So that means, what is consciously balanced action? I consider the agitation / pressure. I consider the source. So where is it coming from? I consider the source in me, just in case the source of where you thought it was coming from outside of you. I consider the source in me. I change myself first. I do something differently. I remember something. I adjust. I do it different. And then I do it different internally, right? Internally. Then I act out. Interesting. Then I act out. It's funny, it's interesting, it's not like with harm to none. Then I act out. Then I act out in a new direction. So consciously balanced action. So it was interesting. So what I was sitting there with there for a second was I act out with harm to none, but that was really kind of last week. What's interesting about this is it's saying I consider the agitation pressure. Where is it coming from? I consider the source. Where is it coming from? Where does it seem to be coming from outside of myself? I consider the source in me. Where is this agitation coming from? So let's use the hypothetical of like a job situation. I consider the agitation pressure. I need a job. I'm broke. All of this stuff is happening. I consider the source. Where is it coming from? Well, I got fucking fired. I don't have a job. Where is my next job coming from? What am I going to do about that? I consider the source in me. In this case, we're talking about time pressure, and we're talking about money pressure, which might be very real in 3 dimensions, but which has to do with lack, right? Lack of external resources. So my sense of lack connected to external resources. I consider the source in me. I change myself first. So what can I adjust? I can affirm constantly that I have time. Nobody has any time, and we all have exactly the same amount of time. Why? Because what they say to us is that next week there's a concentration of opportunities for choice and change, an increase in truly, it's always infinite. There's always an infinite number of choices. But this week we will feel the concentration of opportunity to choose and change. And the idea is that there are more opportunities in the same amount of time. It feels like there are more opportunities in the same amount of time. And they're always infinite, but it's going to feel like there's more. So you might feel kind of a quicksandy thing. So let's say we are working with this idea of a job. I operate in divine time, right? I operate in divine timing. I co-create with divine timing. So really it's just to chill you out. The clock is ticking, the body's going to die, but every second you are crying about the clock ticking, you're not acting. And crying about the clock ticking is not what's going to relieve the pressure. What's going to relieve the pressure I feel can be relieved by consciously balanced action. So if you don't do nothing, you're not going to get nothing. Okay. So I change myself first. I focus on my own timing. I affirm that I can work in divine timing. I also just even that little trigger for reminding yourself, oh, I'm putting too much pressure on this. I don't have to plan the next move and the next move and the next move and the next move. This is very Virgoan. I have this step right in front of me, and then I do this step right in front of me, and this step right in front of me, and this step right in front of me, and then all of a sudden I've taken a move. So the idea is that this week is going to give us this kind of I feel like concentration of the last month of Virgo energy kind of popping off into this new moon, which is going to set the tone for the next month of solar lunar energy. And then the equinox is going to jump in right after that. So once we get the this sort of new initiation of practical, methodical Virgoan energy, the equinox comes in and turns it into a societal balancing act where we all know that there are so many practical things, in our own physical bodies, within our lives, within our communities, within the country, no matter what you believe in, no matter what your political beliefs are, no matter what your religious beliefs are. It's clear that we all have a lot of work to do. So my sense is that the Virgo energy is going to keep concentrating until it pops out through the new moon. It's going to carry us through the next month as we start to use this Libra sun energy, this energy from the sun that's all about all of us balancing, coming up to speed after, or slowing down a little bit after the big growth of the summertime, trimming, harvesting, gathering and pickling and preserving somewhat for the season that's about to come. So there's just this sort of bean counter, book balancing vibe of Libra season. But what I'm saying is it's going to be about how do I dig deeper into my own physical self-care, taking care of my body and taking care of the world. Sorry, little plug. This brings me to the 9/22 live stream and ritual for the fall equinox, which I'm going to be leading, which we're calling Heal Your Damn Self and the Earth. Because your body is the same as the global body, or your body is one cell in the global body of which we are all many cells. So this idea of really taking care of ourselves and how that sort of pops through into figuring out how we're going to take care of each other as well as we take care of ourselves is very much this Virgo into Libra energy. The idea is that there's going to be all of these opportunities for these little bitty changes. And as we reach this kind of pressure pop of the new moon, followed by the equinox, I think you're going to feel it even more so. And the idea is with the Virgo, the only thing that's going to relieve this pressure, relieve this energy is consciously balanced action. I change myself first. I play with these dials of, I consider the agitation pressure. I consider the source. Where is it coming from? I consider the source in me. That time pressure, the lack of external resources. I change myself first. I recognize that I have everything inside of me. I have gifts that maybe I'm not recognizing internally because I'm so focused on what's going on and what I'm lacking externally. And then I do something differently. So maybe I pursue extra money, or I pursue a whole other job based on these invisible or or sort of deprioritized skills and gifts which I may have. I do something differently. I use those. I orient myself. I plot my course in a direction where I get to use those things. I remember something. I adjust. I do it different internally. So all of that is the same thing as I do something differently. I remember something about myself. I adjust accordingly. I do it differently. And then I was going to go, then I act out with harm to none, with the consideration of the tribe and the collective. But no. In this case, this week, you're actually supposed to stay self-contained. I act out in a new direction. I act out in a new direction. I go for it. If I have to, work through some people, places, things, some challenges on the way to go in that new direction, great, I go. But again, as the week concentrates with all of these opportunities which feel like they're just kind of running away from you, remind yourself, the pressure I feel can be relieved by consciously balanced action. If that consciously balanced action feels nigh invisible to you, I consider the agitation or pressure that I'm feeling. I consider the source. Where does it seem to be coming from outside of me? Where is this coming from? What the fuck is this about? Then I consider the source in me. Oh yeah, I feel this sense of time pressure, or it's about this lack of external resources, but there's also that sense of lack inside of me. Then I change myself first. I work with whatever invisible, internal, psychological, emotional, spiritual, non-physical aspects of my being that I can possibly work on. You can also work on a physical aspect of your being if that's somehow related to this overall dynamic. You change yourself first. You take some of those practical little steps to change yourself internally, emotionally, psychologically, physically. Healing works, readings work, meditation works, journaling works, writing works. Shrinks work, right? Medicinal healers work. Non-traditional healers work, right? Healing. I do something differently. Positive change along the most loving lines, in alignment with self and truth. That's healing. So be a healer. I remember something, I adjust, I do it differently internally. Then I act out in a new direction. I amass it's interesting because it's like the Virgo is not fiery. Virgo is earthy. But the energy is like to put a fucking jet engine behind the Virgo energy and let yourself act out, go off in a different direction, not worrying about who you're surrounded by, not worrying about who you're, don't be a dick as always, right? Edible spirit, don't be a dick. It's like go in that direction on your own, trusting that you've already done the homework to make sure you're bringing harm to none, because you're not working with the external source. You're adjusting the internal source, learning from this situation, and then going off in a totally different direction so that you can put this last bit, this concentration, because it's not the last bit because we're going into Virgo new moon, but this concentration of Virgo energy into the multiple practical changes that you need to make and that we all need to make. And then by the time we get over into Libra, by the end of this week, Friday the 22nd, it just feels like it becomes more of a conversation where your plan is in place, your plan is in place, your plan is in place. And now we sort of come to the table with our personal plans, and we get to try it out, work it out, have kind of, like a picking party, or like a, harvest party, like a grapes party where we pick and we squish and we communicate and we share the women and we share the wine, and it feels great, and we share the men too. We don't just share the women and the wine. We share the men as well. Okay. So the affirmation, once again, the pressure I feel can be relieved by consciously balanced action. That's going to carry out through the rest of the readings. Please follow, go to ediblespirit.com, subscribe to these readings, follow on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, tune in to facebook.com/ediblespirit on the 22nd from 12:30 to 1:30 Pacific, 3:30 to 4:30 Eastern time, for the Heal Your Damn Self and the Earth Edible Spirit Fall Equinox Ritual and live stream. Oh yeah. No, we're working it out. It's going to be cool. We'll have some wonderful people that are joining in person. If you want to join, there's still a couple more spaces. So hit me up with an email, direct message. Let me know if you want to make it. It's great to see you again. See you in the rest of these readings. I love you guys. Bye.